What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
It doesn't matter whether you're first or second to make contact. It's about the friends you make along the way. And before we get into Star Trek's First Contact movie review, I'd like to introduce some of my friends. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek.
I'm Scott from Opinions No One Cares About, just a random bozeg.
I'm Vanessa. Oh, are we going clockwise? Sorry.
You're going now.
Okay. My name is Vanessa, and I host a YouTube channel called I Love Bad Star Trek.
I'm Josh. You can find me over at Windgrace Project on YouTube.
Hello, I am Shereese, and I am at the Sci-Fi Savage on YouTube and all the socials.
Nice. We have quite a group of people already in chat. Usually we only start with like one or two.
Yep, hands, man.
Hello, Nadia and James.
Hi, Nadia.
And Norman.
Norman.
Cool.
And some guy named Locutus? I'm not sure who that is.
No one knows.
Sounds Latin.
So I would like to start with this awesome new ship. And more than just being a pretty cool new ship for Star Trek, is this the best CGI of the 90s?
Well, there was a lot of CGI in the 90s, so that's a pretty hard category to win.
Hard pressed to think of any that still holds up, but I haven't watched a lot of 90s stuff in a while.
It is beautiful.
I'd put this against the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
I saw that movie in the theater, and I was so excited.
Oh, me too. CGI today, not good.
No whales, just Borg, Mr. Captain, my captain.
Well, we don't know they didn't assimilate cetacean ops.
Like, I saw some practical effects mixed in here. Like, the explosions in particular look like models, too. But as far as, like, the ship design with the E, I think it's the slickest looking Enterprise so far. So,
Yeah, I think you might be right, especially about looks. As far as the CGI specifically, like, man, I was watching especially the like spacewalk scene and stuff. It holds up today. There's several things that I've watched that have been produced just in the last couple of years where it feels like CGI is kind of taking a step backwards. And this was it holds up today. So I'm very impressed with it.
And I think it's more than the CGI too. It's the mise en scène, or the way that the scenes are framed, is also really stunning. And I think that just helps everything, like that spacewalk scene. It starts with them upside down and then flips, and you're just like, you feel like you're upside down and you feel the magnitude of it, and then it zooms out and you're like, oh my gosh, they're in space. So I think that also helps, is the way that they were very thoughtful in the way they shot every single scene, even down to like the angles, looking up and having it being a really big, proud moment, or looking down, or, all of that.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool that it was upside down. I saw this in the theater and somehow didn't remember that until the last time I watched.
I wish I would have seen this in the theater. It's so cool.
Oh,
but I did it.
So good.
I wish I would have seen it. I know, like, the big screen, I bet was like...
This is the best.
Like, I walked out of there and the manager was like, hey, you want this? And handed me a schematic of the Phoenix.
Ooh.
Oh, that's awesome.
I wish I still had it.
Wait, who handed that to you?
The
random person in the
manager of the theater. Like the manager
That's
of the theater,
amazing.
yeah.
James Cromwell was there watching it with you. It's like, here you go, kid.
I didn't know it was this really tall dude.
He says, you're not going to believe it, but trust me, I'm from the future.
Speaking of tall, Jesus, like I knew he was a tall guy, and I know Frakes is a tall guy, but I didn't realize till watching the
scene with them next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yes, it was specifically the commentary that pointed it out from Ronald D. Moore and Brandon Braga that wrote it. It's like, man, Frakes is a tall guy, but look at him versus Cromwell in the scene, and you look, it's like, Jesus, he's got like 7 or 8 inches on him.
I had the same thought, because the guy's super tall.
Yeah.
Like, I will always remember him from Babe, even though I originally saw him in Star Trek. But like, okay, he's always seems tall. But I agree with you. That scene when they're side by side, you're like, wait a minute, this guy is like feet taller. Like, what in the world? They must always shoot him a few steps back from everybody else, so he looks like a tall guy, but not like as freakishly tall as he must really be.
Hello, Robbie.
Speaking of
Howdy.
Robbie.
Freakishly tall. Hey, Robbie.
Oh, thanks for the compliment, Josh.
I just
Yeah,
like the
that's
idea of was there like a scene cut of Zephyrin Cochrane calling Riker good pig? Good pig.
That'll do, Riker. That'll do.
No, he said it to Barclay, actually.
I love the scene
Oh
when
my
Barclay is fanboying. He just
I
like
love
what's
Barclay.
that actor's name? Dwight Schultz or something like that. He killed it. Like the way he was kind of like looking at him around the corner, and then when Geordi was talking, he was like, "Hi, hey." Like, I don't know, the way he did that scene, I felt the awkward fanboyish nature just like radiating from him. Really masterfully done.
Mhm.
Speaking of this scene, look at LeVar getting to do eye acting for the first time. He's really selling it there.
Right?
I
can
have a
see normally.
question. Like, who is
Go.
somebody scientifically oriented that would sort of elicit that kind of reaction from you? Like
Oh,
the
Like the
Barclay kind
geeking
of
out
reaction.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
LeVar Burton, actually. I would totally geek out. I would totally geek out. Even though, you know, he's not an engineer, he is an actor who plays an engineer, but the role is so meaningful. You know, I actually saw this this is not like Trek specific, but I saw this behind the scenes clip of Stan Lee touring, maybe it was Iron Man, one of the Avengers movies. He was touring the set and everybody was geeking out because of Stan Lee, right? So they're like going to this ridiculous depth of explanation to try to impress him. And they're like, here you see the full-size suit and it opens with these pneumatic tubes and all this other stuff. And he's like, yeah, neat. Like, this was, I mean, I'm sure it was very cool, but he's a comic book artist, okay? He's like not an engineer. He's not an actual superhero. And I just remember how like weird it was that everybody was doing the Barclay. They were all like, hey, and he was just like, hey, thanks so much. And I feel like it'd be something like that. I would totally geek out with LeVar Burton and talk all this sciencey stuff. And he'd be like, cool.
But
I'm
he's
actually not an
also, like,
engineer. I'm an actor.
He's also like an educational sort of communicator because of his Reading Rainbow stuff. So, you know, I totally get that. Yeah. Same.
I heard a funny story about him though, where someone approached him at a con, and I guess he gets it a lot. And his go-to answer was when he doesn't want to be bothered, he's like, "Excuse me while I go complete this mission," and then he just like pieces out so he doesn't have to deal with you.
Dang, I wish I knew that when I was working.
You
with
don't
little
have to
kids.
take his word for it.
But
Was Starfleet justified in sidelining Picard at the beginning of the movie?
I think we've established Starfleet never knows what they're doing,
hell no.
right? Like they're kind of always pretty clueless.
What a screenshot.
I kind of liked it because it sort of subverted the expectation of them being the only ship in the sector that can possibly help anybody. But I mean, it only lasted for a little bit, but I thought that was kind of funny, where it was like, no, we're actually being told to not go anywhere. And it would have been really funny if like the whole movie was kind of like just them sort of twiddling their thumbs, listening to all the starships just go out one by one. Oh, we're ordered to stay here.
They kind of did that
Just
in
the
the beginning,
flagship
right?
of the fleet playing lower decks.
Sorry, say that again, Scott.
I was saying just the flagship of the fleet playing lower decks.
Yes, exactly. They're all playing like D&D in space. They kind of did do that, right? They heard the ships wink out, but it seems like the battle only lasted like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's it. Send us in, which I kind of like that because my patience would have been short. If this went on for like 35 minutes of them being like, should we go? Should we not? I don't know. Like, let's just get out of the way. We don't follow orders. We do what we want. And you're in trouble. We're the only ones who could save you. So I was here for it.
Yeah, I think James K makes a really good point here. Like, they could have given Riker temporary command for this or something if they were really worried about Picard.
Like left him
you
on a
know-
shuttle at the neutral zone.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you still have him on board. You just relieve him of command for a minute, no big deal.
Go chill with Guinan, hang out.
I think they thought he was gonna like get like re-assimilated or something. That was the impression I got, that he was just like gonna be, he was gonna do something really crazy on the ship if he was near them.
I think part of it is they don't really
Yeah.
have a lot of experience with ex-Borgs outside of like Hugh. And the fact that Picard is responsible as Locutus for such a high body count, it seems reasonable to be like, maybe we don't want the mass murderer on scene immediately.
I mean, they weren't like, we don't want the mass murderer in charge of the flagship. Right?
Yeah.
So
Fair.
I don't know. But
I just feel bad for Kelsey Grammer getting his pulled into the future fighting the Borg in his old ship.
Right?
Could
The bosun
anyone-
was there.
Could anyone else besides Data have said, to hell with our orders and been taken seriously?
Oh, sure. This
I
one
feel like they all could have said that. Do you know that episode of, so I'm not the best person to even use this analogy, but I watched this random DS9 episode where like Cisco and group, they take the Defiant into like through the wormhole to go get Odo back and the other guy. And anyways, they come back and then the Admiral is like, I'm so mad at you because you violated our orders. And then he was like, if you keep doing stuff like that, you're going to be court-martialed or promoted. And I was just like, that is the Starfleet way. So when I like resaw this part, like when I was rewatching this, I was just like, I kind of like that they have that. I kind of like that they do that they're like, Starfleet is so great, but we never follow orders because we know best, but only for the greater good. I kind of like that. I kind of like that their like flawed logic saves the day.
But like, imagine how many times it has to work out for the better. There has to be a net gain, because obviously if it doesn't work out, that would be a court-martial.
I feel like shouldn't it be a court-martial either way? Like if you don't follow orders? Like like real life, wouldn't it
When
be a
have we
court-martial
really
either way?
seen that happen though? Like, so rare that like there's consequences for being like, nah, we're gonna break the rules in order to save everybody. Like, I mean, maybe like you could argue in one of the TOS movies, Kirk was like demoted and that was his consequence, but he wasn't kicked out of the Starfleet. Yeah. He was like, oh no, I'm a captain.
Go be in charge of a whole crew.
Yeah.
Rats.
He got a timeout.
Here's the flagship. Yeah, here's the flagship and all of your crew. Darn.
Exactly. Yeah, Cisco would be demoted or promoted. I kind of like that. I mean, I don't think I don't know if we're supposed to like that, because it's like that goes against the whole after school special nature of 90s shows. But yeah, I was here for it. When he was like, and I love those scenes too, whenever they're like, all right, everybody, we're going to do something totally illegal. Are you with me? If you're out, you can leave right now. Yeah. And everyone looks around. They're like, we're in. I mean, of course, who's going to be like, and that same episode I was talking about, that DS9 episode, there's that one guy who's like, hey, this is wrong. Like, I don't want to do this. And then for some reason he comes on the ship and then he like sabotages them. And I was like, buddy, why are you on this ship? If you wanted to stand against it. But I know that was his orders, but like, I did not love that. Yes, Eddington.
He betrayed
something. You pulled that name out of
he betrayed something.
Yeah, exactly. He betrayed nothing, because once he was found out, he was just like, I was following my orders to not, to sabotage the ship. But now that I followed my orders, I guess I'll get to fixing the sabotage I just did.
Well, now I'll follow your orders. Just anybody give me orders. I'll just accept them all.
I was like, who is this dude and where's the airlock? I do not trust him at all.
Often when orders come from like an admiral or Federation headquarters, it's usually with like not very little or no knowledge of the context in which they're giving those orders. So I can see why they're like, you know what, that's dumb. They don't have the full data set that we do.
couldn't it go both ways? Like, isn't that why they could get court-martialed? Because the admirals could be like, there was all this stuff we didn't tell you that you probably should have known, but we didn't tell you.
Right.
And that's why we gave you those orders. But they can never back up their why they do anything they do. James K says Starfleet admirals for the most part are a-holes. Most of them,
Yeah,
For the most part.
what's the good moral versus bad moral percentage ratio?
Now, what is it, like
it's got to
10%?
be like 20-80.
Mm-hmm.
Are you counting Admiral Picard and Admiral Janeway or something? Like you're taking them out?
They're both pretty. Honestly, I'm gonna give Admiral Picard. I would call him a bad admiral, and not in the same way as the other bad admirals we see in the series, but more in the way that he wasn't a great admiral. He was a great captain. It's same as Kirk. Neither one of them made great admirals.
Mhm.
She disappeared.
Not sure what happened to Shereese.
Those damn chronotons, oh they
Chronotons. They almost said chronotons this movie. Almost.
Yeah, it was tachyons.
Well,
I've
they
been
said like
thinking-
chronometric interference or something too.
I think you're right. Let me get Shereese back in. Hello, Shereese.
Okay, that wasn't me.
Yes, we're back.
Could have been you.
I
Could have been
touched
the stream.
my computer
Who
just
knows?
when it all went wrong, and I was like, "Am I still being
don't know.
recorded?"
No, but here you are.
Oh, is that late? No, Hansen? It's James K talking about Admiral Hansen.
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Yep. That was Hanson.
All the good ones are dead ones.
And Vance. Yeah, Vance is my favorite.
I don't consider Ross a good admiral, but that's personal.
He's a gray area. I guess I'd call him. Yeah, he's one of those bad admirals, but I mean, he's also like I'll do whatever's
admiral.
necessary.
Wasn't there a good one in TAS? Excuse me. Or am I misremembering?
You mean besides Robert April as a Commodore?
He was a Commodore.
The Robert April.
But I mean, a Commodore is a 1-star admiral, so whatever.
Not a Commodore 64, apparently.
Actually, he might have been 64 in that episode because he was being forced to retire or whatever.
No, he got to retire at 75.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Ooh, Nadia makes a good point.
Yeah.
Was Janeway really a good admiral? Yeah. Well, okay, but what about like Janeway in, Prodigy? Let's fast forward past her mistakes. Let's go back to
Prodigy
Primetime
is
Janeway.
no.
She's absolutely great in Prodigy.
Yeah, not awesome, I guess, for like history in Voyager, but the Primeline version of her is really awesome in Prodigy. Dang, don't become an admiral, I guess. Stay a captain forever.
Yeah, bad
That seems
has,
to be the message.
layers for Starfleet admirals.
I mean, that's like what they said in Generations. Don't get promoted.
Mhm.
Oh, bummer. Nadia can't watch Prodigy because it's not available in Canada. Wow.
I had to buy it. Like I refuse to do Netflix, so
VPNs.
He was get a handy VPN.
But to answer your question, maybe? Was Starfleet right to sideline Picard? Maybe. They didn't know what he was going to do when confronted with the past.
I mean, I feel like it probably ended up working out because had the Enterprise been there from the start, the Borg probably would have focused on them as the main threat to begin with, instead of coming in at the hero at the last minute. So an accidental good move by Starfleet.
Hearing distant Borg voices, according to the subtitles.
So
Of course, nobody
speaking
would
of
know
the
that.
speaking of the Borg, why are they so obsessed with Earth in the first place?
I assume because Earth is basically the headquarters of Starfleet, and the Federation is like their greatest threat to total domination.
Yeah, that was my only guess because honestly, I was like, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, granted, the audience is on Earth, so we have like a personal connection to it. But I was like, and I had even said in our chat, I was like, what if they just attacked Vulcan? then they would never have had first contact, and that would have done the same thing. But would we have cared as much? Probably not.
I think of the
Yeah, the short answer is because all the main characters, most of them are human.
And even the ones who aren't grew up there. Worf.
It seems as though Borg society or the Borg hive mind is sort of a mirror of the Federation. There is a similar drive towards hegemony, but the Federation, at least in principle, is all about diversity, whereas the Borg collective is all about unity, sameness, and all of that. So I think it's a bit of like a narcissistic thing, that it's like this would be their ultimate victory.
I feel like they are also about diversity because they're always looking for distinctiveness to add to their own. But I think the difference is the independence and the voluntary status of it, right? It's like you will join us or die / join us and die. It's like, that's it. Versus the Federation, it's like you have to apply. You have to like want to be a team player. You can leave if you don't like it, you know. But, so it's the like it's that complete absence of choice in the
There's also there is a bit of strategery that the Federation employs when they sort of solicit somebody for membership too, like with Bajor. Like they picked that planet because it's right next to the wormhole. So there's like, you know, resources and types of things that they could extract from that culture or system. So it's like, no, they're not the Borg. They're not going to take by force, but it's like, you know, strongly encouraging joining the thing.
They're not going to let everybody in. They're insidious. Yeah. Do you remember that planet in TNG where like, oh, it's so stupid. This stupid episode attached where Beverly and Picard have like the brain connection. And that planet is like half and half, and they're super conspiratorial, and one half wants to join the Federation and the other half doesn't want to join. And they're like, we've never had this situation before. Should we allow half of a planet to join? I feel like Vanessa, you're giving them a lot of credit for having strategy. I don't know. Like, I kind of, again, don't really know what they're up to sometimes with their decisions, because it's like, what's even the point of this? I don't know.
Yeah, there's definitely it's not a foolproof system for sure. We must discuss the introduction of the Borg Queen. Yes, we must. We must.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it a few times and like how we all feel about it, and everybody seems to have a different opinion on whether there should have been a Borg Queen or not, because it really does kind of go against what we'd known about the Borg before. But I mean, personally, I love the idea that there's one outspoken being that not only speaks for the Borg but kind of has her own agenda, not separate but parallel to the Borg.
You probably put this on the screen, I didn't see it, but TTV RoboCorpse says practically it was way easier to film in Montana than it would have been to film on Vulcan, which I don't know, because Vulcan would have been a soundstage. It just would have been like brown, I feel like.
True.
But I am glad that they picked Montana in like an on-site location, because that was really fun to watch.
I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted because, you know, on the one hand, we do love those kinky scenes with the Borg Queen and Data.
We love them.
But like on the other hand, I kind of enjoy the anonymity and the sort of like facelessness of the Borg personally. I think that's more frightening personally. But
it's more existential.
I can see for like a movie why they would go this route.
I think if they didn't do the Borg Queen, then they shouldn't have done this entire movie. Like if that was the choice. If the choice was like, no, we want to keep the Borg as like this nameless, faceless, whatever, then I don't want a whole movie on that. Yeah, see, do we love this?
Yeah, we have that as a question, so we can move right into that. Like, what's with the scene, and did it need to be here?
Well, wasn't this written by Rick Berman?
And Ronald, well, I don't know about this scene, maybe, but I mean, the movie as a whole was written by Ronald D. Moore, and Bran and Braga, and in their commentary, like I've heard fans use this term, and this commentary is like more than 15 years old. I love that Ronald D. Moore refers to it as the blowjob scene, when he she just blows on that hair on his arm.
Wow.
It's like the thing you can't unhear or unsee. I mean, I think the scene did its job, but I don't love it. Sorry, go ahead, Vanessa.
Oh no, I wasn't. I was just making guttural noises, honestly. But like, I think it takes up a lot of real estate for the amount of time. Like, there's a lot of this energy throughout of him being. It's very like the snake in the Garden of Eden kind of thing. That's what it felt like to me. The knowledge of physical sensation or whatever. I think that's an intriguing concept. Did it need to be, he needed to be strapped down and teased physically by this woman for as long as almost like such a good percentage of this movie? I don't think so.
I think it's good for Data. This would not work for any other character, not even Picard and like the thing they've got going on the side, which I'll get to in a minute. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I like the idea that like there is a connection between the Borg Queen and an android. Like they have a lot in common in terms of like a synthetic life. But as Data continues to point out that, you know, perfection is a dumb goal. It's just
I think it was, that's a good point. I think it was, well, what they explain it as in this movie is that it was the experience of Locutus, of Picard being assimilated, that somehow gave the Borg Queen this idea, because he explains in this movie, I remember your voice. It was there the whole time, which we didn't know, but now we know that. And apparently the voice was constantly saying, you have to give yourself to me voluntarily, although he was already fully assimilated. So something about that was interesting. And then I feel like Hugh was maybe more of like a thorn in the paw, Hugh, etc., and Unimatrix Zero and all of that. Then there was like a reboot with 7 of 9. Like, let's try this whole one independent drone situation again. And then it was like not that effective. So I don't really know. These kinds of questions is what makes the Borg Queen less awesome, right? Because like, why Locutus? Why 7 of 9? There's like bajillions of drones. Like, I just don't understand why they're special. Why they would be special to her at all.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions: is why is Picard special to the Borg Queen?
Should have been O'Brien.
You would think that if they had taken Locutus, that on some other planet at some point they must do this as a routine tactic to like take one to speak for a race.
But so unnecessary. Like in that episode, Best of Both Worlds, the Borg cube just flew through the 2 tiny little ships protecting Earth. Like they just were like pew, pew, pew. I mean, there was no. I don't know. They only needed Picard for that one moment to know the codes so that the Enterprise didn't fire on them. Mm-hmm. But also, I feel like they would have adapted pretty quickly, even if the Enterprise had fired on them a couple times.
I think it's a symbolic type of conquering when it comes to Picard. He is the face of the Federation and Starfleet. He is the first person in so many diplomatic negotiations when it comes to membership to the Federation. So I think it's a symbolic thing to sort of pervert who he is into a mass murderer.
So going back to Data on this, is he really the Queen's perfect counterpart, or would Lore make a better partner for her and her plans?
I don't think Lore would fall for it. Lore would have too much ambition and try to overthrow her.
But that's why he would join her, though. He'd like,
join her, and then like,
I've been waiting for this.
And
Forget all those Borg on the planet. I messed up with that.
And then we have a Borg king, and he'd be like, ha ha ha.
Well, remember when she said she wanted someone to go willingly? Her thing is wearing down someone's resistance. With Data, she did it with sexuality. With Picard, she did it with PTSD, essentially. I think she doesn't like when things are easy.
You think lore's too easy for her?
Yes.
That is interesting.
Oh God, Eris, lore. I mean, look at that. Like that's a hunky person there. How dare you talk that way about lore?
No, but he's too like obviously evil to like. No.
I don't know if they could have got his actor back for this though.
He's probably booked.
I think it's like
I feel like he was already doing the movie.
I don't think the Borg would want lore because he'd bring chaos to order.
Also, he's not a Starfleet asset. If he's assimilated, he would just do as they ask. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be like they wouldn't get the codes that they need. He wouldn't be the strategic asset that Picard and Data would be.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But there probably is another Soong on Earth right now. So, in this time period, they could just pick up one of those.
Oh.
Aurelius Soong or something.
It's gonna be really easy to recognize too.
Aurelius Soong. Now I want a whole backstory. You probably put this on the screen. I didn't see this though before. Mr. Captain 93 says, "Imagine if it was Barclay." I don't even know if she would have assimilated him. She would not have done it personally, for darn sure. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the Queen would have been like, "Aha! Here's the strategic asset I really need." Barclay.
I mean, I think that's really kind of true. I mean, he was rewired by the Cytherians in nth degree. He's a smart dude just because he's so socially challenged. He's like one of Earth's shining brains.
Okay, so is Barclay her type though? Because I think she wants something she can find a little bit.
No,
yeah, see,
he would pass out immediately.
She'd be way It's just that the neck part, when the head comes down, he would just, he would absolutely faint. But to be fair, so would I. And I don't have the issues Barclay has. I totally would have. I would have been like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing.
No.
I'm not passing judgment on Barclay.
I'm not saying I'm any more brave or whatever than Barclay. I'm just saying, like, I don't think of the Borg Queen as somebody who's drawn to people who just, like, fold physically, mentally, like... Barclay would put up no resistance because he would pass.
Or he'd agree immediately. What codes do you need? Do you want them in alphabetical order? Right. Let me go grab the data node.
Like,
I can unlock the computer.
You're choosing me? You want me?
Yeah, you can totally call me Broccoli. Broccoli all day.
He'd totally go willingly as like just something to explore.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah. So I think that could work if it was Barclay. If this movie was a comedy, it'd probably be pretty funny.
So speaking of comedies, does the humor in this movie work?
What humor? Oh, the humor.
There's a lot of random jokes. I mean, there's the stuff with Cochrane. There's a bunch of little jokes with Data. I think Riker makes a few with Cochrane and other people. It's there's every Star Trek movie has a little bit of comedy. Except for probably the motion picture. And it works in some and not in others. And this one, I think, because it is so thin, and you're like, there's comedy? Yeah, there's just a few random bits. And for me, I think they all work because they're quick, they're punchy, you move on. They don't like hang on to some of these jokes that just don't work. Like Sulu and Chekhov, like, oh, Sulu, it's a blizzard. Whoosh.
The funniest part to me wasn't really, I don't know if it was intended to be funny, but I'm not laughing at the movie. It was like that scene in the holodeck where someone strikes a match with their nose. And it's just like this little, it's so random and weird. Like, why would that be in the holo program? Why would this be in a Dixon Hill novel? It's so bizarre.
I think they're doing like
Give me the nose or Tony the Nose or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Bob from that 70s show.
The only
Nick
thing
even
that I
knows.
wasn't such a huge fan of was the thing with Zephram Cochrane and Troy off screen, that she was like, "Oh, his hands were all over me."
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
why did they have to do that?
How has she never experienced tequila?
Synthakila?
Synthahol. Yeah.
Yeah, has
But
it?
she
I mean,
doesn't
don't
even
they
sound
only
like
do-
she'd heard of
Yeah.
it. She's like, something called tequila.
I feel like Guinan must have had something.
She's probably only had like Klingon tequila or something like that.
Blood wine, or like the maybe Romulan ale or something. But tequila, I could see her not having any knowledge of that, because all they have on the at a 10 forward is synthahol.
Most
And they
of
have
them.
the real
whiskey.
like the real stuff behind the bar, but
Mhm.
it doesn't. Maybe they don't have Earth delicacies
Right?
from World War III.
Why would they?
They didn't have
would they
tequila when
have
she
any-
went back to the Ancient West program.
Apparently not. They had spittoons.
That's
And the
right.
three seashells.
In Fistful of Datas, she's drinking that bottle and having a cigar. No tequila there.
Guess not.
Safety
Timeline
protocol
was reset.
doesn't mean you can get drunk.
That's that good stuff, Del. What
You have to
happened
eat the
pri-
worm.
As long as it's a blood worm, as long as it's one of them Klingon worms, because it's all worms, everything.
Klingons
What
are
happened to
worm.
What happened to the temporal prime directive in this movie? They told Cochrane way too much about the future, didn't they?
Yes, and secondary follow-up question that I had when I was reading this book this weekend that was trash, but I was hoping it'd be good, but it wasn't. This woman comes back from the future and she's like, "I'm you from the future and I'm here to save you." And she's like, "Really?" And she's like, "Yeah, look, I have this scar on my chin." And she's like, "But I don't have a scar on my chin." And later on she gets a scar on her chin and she's like, "Oh, you must be me from the future." And I was like, who believes this on Facebook? No one asked questions. Like, you don't need some kind of corroborating evidence. In this case, it wasn't even like it was future Cochrane to younger Cochrane who could tell some like private personal stuff to prove it. These are just some random people who are like, "We're from the future. We're here to help you." So yes, I think they told him way too much. And also, but like, clearly we don't want to waste a ton of time on screen trying to convince him. But that's just a question I always have in Star Trek whenever there's time travelers, why there aren't more questions or proof or skepticism. Maybe that's just me, though.
My favorite was in the movie The Voyage Home, when they're just in the pizza parlor and she's like, "Go on, tell me everything." And it's just this sarcastic solicitation. And Kirk just goes off on this random, like, or not really random, but tells her everything. And it's just crazy. And she's like, "Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't see the value in telling Zephram that he's going to have a statue after him, or that this whole site is going to be a museum. There's no value in that.
He
There's
went to
nothing-
Zephram Cochrane High School.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What are you convincing him of?
Historic Bozeman.
He should have had a bottle in his pocket.
Do you think he ever gets his own tabletop RPG?
Oh, definitely in universe, absolutely. If there's Batleths and Benachs, there's totally Zephram Cochrane and the Phoenixes.
Out of all the aliens to have first contact with, Vulcans are the weirdest for Zephram Cochrane to me. Like, it would have been cooler to me if he met Klingons. Like, they would probably get along a little bit better.
Nice.
Yeah, the Tempora Prime Directive, who cares about that in this movie, right?
The incredibly awkward bit with the Klingon ambassador. I'm very sorry. With the Vulcan ambassador, and they're playing Ooby Dooby in the bar, and he's just dancing awkwardly. It made me laugh every time I saw it.
Or what about when he can't do the Vulcan salute and he's like,
Yeah.
I can't figure out how my fingers could part that way. I don't think my joints go that way.
The rest of us are like, how do you not know how to do that?
At least he didn't pull out a gun and shoot him or something. That'd be
right?
weird.
Which I feel
That
like
would be
this is the
silly.
end of World War
Windgrace,
III.
come on.
I feel like that would be. I mean, that was the first thought when the Enterprise came to try to help because the Borg had just been firing on them. Right? It's like Lily opens fire back because she's like, "You guys are attacking us," and so the Vulcans come in. They're just like, "Hey, dude, you want to have a drink? Let's go to the bar, listen to some tunes." Again, there's a lot of trust going on here. That seems a little
It's
unhuman?
the clothes.
Inhuman?
They made sure to get the duds right,
Mhm.
so they had to trust them. They were wearing the right clothes.
I also like that it was the Vulcans that look pretty much human. And he first sees them, he's like, "Oh my god, they are aliens." Really?
That was kind of a question I had about that was, were they easier to accept because they're basically look exactly like humans with pointy ears? Like, had they been Andorians or Klingons or Bolians or something, would there have been a bigger
pull together.
or negative reaction?
Probably, actually.
I would have been like, wow, they have a spaceship, but I don't think I would have been like, wow, they really are aliens. Their eyebrows are slightly pointy.
Or like the Hirogen, where you have no eye contact at all. It's just like a visor.
Or like the Breen with just like
Yeah.
being totally covered, and you're like, ooh, is there anything in there?
Yeah.
You know, something that would make you go like, this
Yeah.
is different from regular people.
Yeah, they just have the little pointy ears. And who doesn't love pointy ears?
Right?
I
Plus,
mean,
you have to
ooh.
kind of supposed to see those.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, Tolkien fans. Nice to meet you.
I really do love this alternate Enterprise mirror universe first contact that you see in Enterprise. It's really good.
Yeah, that's because we're in the timeline where that's likely to happen no matter which race would show up.
Oh yes, we are totally in the mirror universe. We've been over this.
The Thermians? Is that the race from
Thermians?
Is that the race from Galaxy Quest?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
I don't
right.
think we
I've
would
only
have shot
seen
the
it a couple
Thermians.
times.
I think we would have just thought they were coming from a con.
Listen to them to talk for 5 minutes, like, do you need help?
They all had to do that because what's his name improvised that. And they're like, "You all talk like that now."
Oh, it was such a great touch. Where there were Ferengi. Wait, well,
There's
there
already
was
been
Ferengi
Ferengi.
first
There's already
contact.
been Vulcans.
Yeah.
Twice.
It's in DS9.
Oh, it's in DS9. Oh, but like those are those time travel-y things that, again,
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few, and there's already been Vulcan first contact from Enterprise,
Twice.
which honestly, Carbon Creek also that's up there, just like this
What-
episode.
What's the ratio of like time travel movies so far versus non-time travel movies? Because it feels like
There's
most
only
of
two,
them.
I think.
Yeah, only 2.
Really?
Well,
2 out of 14.
Mm.
3 if you count Section 31.
Well, 4
Because
because
there's
2009
Nexus.
is very
Some of the characters.
time travel.
Oh yeah, Generations, I guess, because it's like you're shifting
Yeah.
time.
So I guess 5 then.
I wouldn't count Section 31 though, because they didn't do time travel in the
There's
episode.
right,
in the movie.
not in the movie. There are characters that have.
There are
time
characters that
travel.
had time traveled, but
Mhm.
that's not what the movie's about.
Technical.
Okay, we got 20 minutes and still a pile of questions. Less than 20 anyway. Is the direct reference to Star Trek, you know, the like, you guys are astronauts and some kind of Star Trek? Is it a good use of the
Right.
term?
Hated that joke. Burn it. Burn that joke. Stop it. No.
What do you think would have been a better use, Robbie?
I don't know. We just
You're soldiers in some sort of Star War.
Yeah, it would have been
Actually-
fun if they didn't necessarily make it so literal and make it sort of like meta joke about another IP. That would have been, I agree, that would have been funny.
I don't think we ever got a name for that race. I might be wrong, James K, but it was just the Voth was their leader.
Oh yeah, those
And
guys.
I
Well,
don't
inside of the
know that
Nazis,
we
yeah.
got the name of the race.
Dell says the Bakul. Does that sound familiar? I don't recognize that.
That's from the next movie.
Bakul
Oh, that's
was
the
demon-
Isn't that the
Baku.
Baku?
Yeah, that's just Baku. Yeah, I don't know.
Baku, yeah.
Oh, the not NA_KUHL.
Ah,
No,
yeah,
of
we all
course.
knew that one. Right on the tip of my tongue.
Of course, is the not cool. I knew that. I went to school with not cool.
Some of my best friends are not cool.
Yeah, honestly though, if you're gonna include the term Star Trek in Star Trek, I don't think it can come from a better character than the inventor of warp drive. Randomly, I think it was very, very well used.
I liked it. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny and silly and like a little lighthearted moment in a pretty intense movie. Plus, it's like very low hanging fruit. It's not a very complicated joke, you know? So like that's one of the things where you can be like a little bit on the younger side watching this movie and be like, haha, I see what you did there. So I kind of like the simplicity of that little statement.
It's better than the earnest speech Archer would have given. Where he'd be like, one day I hope that this Warp 5 engine can help us all spread into the stars and go on a Star Trek.
Someday we might come up with some kind of directive.
Perhaps even our prime one. Who's to say?
Envision us all
No,
coming
I bet
together.
they'll be more of a fan of the stars than the actual Trek when they get around to it.
The guest stars like The Rock or The Big Show.
Yeah, James K. That's an interesting comment. I guess they told him a lot about his future, but they didn't tell him everything, and maybe that's for the best.
Well, it's very Jebediah Springfield, because what they do know about his future is very like
Such a nice
candy
reference.
coated. It's so like it's so
Well, marry our
romanticized,
cousins.
hero worship.
Yeah, it's all magnificent and quite frankly unbelievable, which is why he runs from it, right?
Okay.
He's kind of like,
Okay.
that was not me.
What are they not telling us? How many wives does he have? You know, like, who is this monster that wants to, like, go away to islands with women on them? Like, he very specifically says this at one point. Like, they're saying a lot without saying it.
Nobody in our history has ever had a shady island.
Like, yeah, where is this island? This women island that he's
Yeah.
And they're all wearing cat suits.
or like
Who is
the
tailoring
triangle
this?
outfits like Injustice.
I'm
Right.
imagining.
They're just wearing tissue paper, giving them a big camel toe. Those outfits were, yeah, I guess I would have to take a cat suit over that because that
Moose
looks
Knuckle, no way.
I mean, I was just thinking, like, it's that's what Neelix is recreating in Voyager. That fantasy tiki bar. That's James Cromwell's island. That's Ephraim Cochrane Island.
Oh boy. I'd rather have a gothic house with a floor you can't visit.
I would like if I was gonna have like an island to myself, it would be like mad scientist stuff, like Jacob's ladders and babies in jars, and it would be amazing.
And of course,
The
it has
island
to
of Dr. Moreau.
Right.
Exactly.
Can I just have a fucking house to myself instead of an island? That'd be fucking fantastic.
It'd be a good start.
Yeah, that'd be a phenomenal start, honestly.
You guys want to start with just having a home. And we'll work
One
our
thing
way
at a
up from
time.
there.
Neelix was not in a cat suit, to clarify in the chat. But he did create a
No, he wasn't
holodeck
in a
program. He did create a holodeck program where everyone. Yeah, that's where I thought you were going at first when you were like, "That's what they did with Neelix." I was like, until you finished when he created the tiki bar. Okay, yeah, but in that holodeck program, it was a bunch of people just like in bikinis and shorts, board shorts, having drinks. all day
Because
by
now
the
I'm
pool.
thinking about that, like that first time we see Jeffrey Combs and like Kira and Odo mess with Quark by making like the Quark on Kira's body hologram, and like I'm thinking like somebody's pranking Neelix. You think, okay, now what I'm imagining is Harry Kim and Tom Paris pranking Tuvok with a hologram of Neelix in a cat suit because they love to mess with Tuvok.
Do I see another
Anyway.
what if video in your future?
Oh wow.
Got to play that 100% straight though.
That's the
Leonardo got
episode where
AI
they,
can make amazing AI. Although
that's the episode where they fall in love with the hologram woman. So I could totally see that happening because Tuvok falls in love with the hologram lady. So if it was Neelix in a cat suit, that would have totally worked because that episode was really bad.
Fair.
Neelix is like 85% cat.
Well, he did meow in Barclay's program.
All right, let's pull this back for the last 10 minutes. If holographic bullets are this effective at unaliving Borg, why didn't Starfleet continue developing the TR-116 rifle?
Or just have
like
Tommy
grab
guns
a Tommy
everywhere.
gun, just like recreate it.
The idea was too good.
I have a whole like video on this. I mean, it's like 30 seconds long, but I have a whole thought on this. Is that when we first see the Borg getting shot up in Best of Both Worlds, the phasers work for the first couple of shots, like the first 7 Borg or whatever are just laid out on the ground, right? And then as more keep climbing over the bodies, eventually they adapt and they're like, oh, it doesn't work anymore, and then that's like how we know the Borg work. I feel like the same thing would happen with projectile weapons, is that the force field, because the force field is a force field that repels things, could adapt. But here we just see 2 Borg. Like we don't see the 7, 8, 10, 12 it took when they first ran into them. So my thinking is that they would have adapted eventually. Now, a bunch of people in that 30-second video disagreed vehemently. They were like, it worked on 2 Borg. It's going to work forever. This is all you should use. We don't even need phasers. And I'm like, but they're Borg. Like they adapt. And I think the argument was, because like a projectile weapon is totally different from a phaser, which is a particle weapon, but which is true. Yes, physics, true. But as far as like being shot by it, they're very similar. Like you wouldn't want to get hit by either of those things.
really?
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if the theory is true, and then people are like, oh, but in the video game, it always works, or in this comic book, it always, or whatever. So, like, if it was true that projectile weapons always work against the Borg, y'all need to just go dust off all the old projectile weapons whenever you're around them. Like, problem solved. If bombs really work, it's kind of like if you guys have ever seen Harry Potter, people are always like, why don't they use human weapons against the magicians, like against the wizards? Why don't they just use human weapons? And it's like, because they have magic. So they just like don't work. But then they're like, well, how do you know? So it's like, well, if they do work, use those. Just use those. Maybe you don't need a wand. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of not 1,000% clear in the canon. Bullets are made of particles. Everything's made of particles. But a projectile weapon and particle weapon are different.
Right. Like the ratio tracks. Like it's about the same amount of kills that you would get from a single weapon, from a single type of bullet, as though there was like a bunch of them. So you would have to switch from like maybe a different caliber.
Yes.
Maybe a different, So
maybe a different caliber, maybe a different type. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Maybe you need to go with silver bullets. Maybe we need to go werewolf on them. I don't know. And then to that other comment of like, what about batleths? That was another question that came up a lot, is like, could they really defend against like a sharp impaling weapon or like a crossbow or something like that? Well, the thing with, I would try a crossbow. Yeah, maybe. You don't have to be too close. But a batleth, if you're that close to the Borg and you miss, like you will lose. That's the benefit of these kind of distance range weapons. Yeah. You don't want to be in, even if they don't hit you, they can just assimilate you. Like those tubules go pretty far. So
yeah, Picard was very adamant about not this, like, don't let them touch you. So if you're in a melee weapon, increases the likelihood of that quite a lot.
It's a joke from Shereese's stream. If you weren't there,
it's all about the colons, the Borg colons. It got really weird. My live streams get weird sometimes, but yeah, Vanessa, totally like a melee weapon.
I'm sorry.
Do I love it? A melee weapon. Could they adapt to that? Does it matter? You got to get too close to them to use it. Like, I
assume eventually they would be able to. They just might have to lose 15 or 20.
Overpower you? Couldn't they just take it from you? Couldn't they? I don't know. Like, I don't know. But I feel like it's kind of like that zombie question where they're like axe versus gun or whatever. It's like, well, if you got to get close enough to use an axe, You could get bitten. I don't know. So
Why not put an axe on
I mean,
a shotgun?
you get a decent swing with a good sized claymore.
Oh man, yeah, Claymore action. That'd be a good time.
All right, there's a couple of more good questions I really want to get to here before our hour is up. Is Picard's Moby Dick scene, tantrum included, in character for him?
yes. I don't want to take up all the
Actually, I
time
would
like I
agree.
was doing, but I love it. What do you think, Scott?
I think of the way he reacted in Family after he was de-assimilated and the way he broke down then, and find it similar to what he's doing here when he's pushed hard enough, when the Borg are concerned. That, yeah, he's going to lose it and go off on them as hard as he can. Lily had him pegged.
You know
He was
what?
out for revenge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't blame him. I mean, they killed Hawk. Hawk was the backbone
Justice for
for this
Hawk.
entire goddamn crew. Hawk was the spirit, the thing that propelled us forward through further adventures. I'm tired of people not recognizing it. Like, I'm glad he went after them. I'm sorry it failed, but he got his due.
I feel like it really was in character. See, this is what I'm saying. C4 solves all problems. If they would have strapped some of that into a cube, it would have
Mad
worked.
Dog Murtaugh shows up with a bunch of C4.
I think like making a literary reference was definitely a gamble, a very lucky gamble on Lily's part. But he's assertive enough of a captain to give commands and expect them to be followed through on. But he's intelligent enough to hear
What Lily's
assessments
saying.
of his character in real time. Lily pushed back in a way where it was like, no, this is not just like we're just following orders. You're just obsessed and we are along for the ride. And I think that, being told that it is in character for him to go, you know what, you're right. We need to change course here.
And he's always one for a good speech. Like, that's one of my favorite things about Picard. Throughout TNG, he's always like, in Measure of a Man, or there's all these episodes where he's just like, no, that's it. I have something to say. And you're like, so I felt like all of that was in character, in my opinion.
All right, so here's a weird question that I'm guessing nobody's going to have an answer to, or somebody's got a really quick, direct answer. I was actually paying attention to the credits this time, and somebody has the credit title of Dirt Removal. What is that in a Hollywood setting?
Ooh, I can tell
Well,
you.
Go on.
No, go ahead, Robbie.
Okay, basically what happens is when you're walking around, you create a lot of dirt. So you gotta bring people in, and they remove the dirt. So, yeah, it's very
From here to over there.
Yeah.
So you get a credit in a major motion picture.
So,
It can mess with your shading. I'm not kidding you. You
So
gotta remove that dirt.
Universal Studios is one of my happy places. And a few years ago, I was able to do the VIP tour where they take you backstage and show you all the sets and stuff. And one of the things they talked about was renting dirt for scenes that need dirt. So they probably rented a bunch of dirt for all the Montana scenes so they could have like the landscape that they wanted. And you literally you rent it for the time of the shoot and then you have to give it back. You don't get to keep the dirt because they use it on another shoot.
That's
So
odd.
that's probably what they did.
Oh, and this
The thing-
literally happened on TNG every year on the Paramount lot. A bunch of stray cats would move in to the TNG set after they'd finished filming, and then they'd have to chase them out, and clean all of the carpets and surfaces because it was all cat
Oh.
urine every year.
Oh no.
And the last cat out.
I thought you were gonna say they had to change out the cats and get fresh cats. Can't have these old cats in here. We gotta get new cats.
They're totally superstitious. They didn't think it was going to be a good shoot unless they had at least 37 cats running around.
That's gross. That's the glamour of Hollywood.
It's adorable but gross.
That was really interesting. Thank you for sharing. I didn't know that.
I didn't either. You're welcome. I was back there
Yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
mean-
see this dirt? We rented this for the such and such shooting. And this
I
side,
could think
no dirt.
3 or 4 different things that dirt removal could mean within, a production setting, and like, I just never seen that in a credit. I'm like, dirt removal. Okay, all right.
Maybe for them
I'm
being
here
in the
for this.
credits, though.
I
Lead
think
dirt
somebody's
removal.
covering up
Secondary
the
dirt
cat's
removal.
indiscretions.
It's also called Fixer, but that didn't look good in the credits, so we just called it Dirt Remover.
Is that code for the guy who fires anybody they need to be fired? Gets rid of the dirt.
Paramount ran out of fresh cats.
It's the code for the fluffer in the P movies.
Oh no. The ship.
Oh,
Flipping those little ships.
okay. Well,
Dirt cheap.
I'm
I'm
gonna wait
guessing
and see if
Windgrace is doing the banner.
no, that's Scott. Oh, it's
That's
Scott.
Scott?
He is the multi-talented ticker.
Oh no,
Yes.
Chronicon's got Vanessa. Yeah, you're really good at that, Scott.
Yeah, I guess I'll ask one more. I was gonna move us to there's Vanessa, and we'll move to our out of 10s. Okay, so out of 10, 10 out of 10, no notes, go Windgrace. This is my favorite Trek movie. 10 out of 10.
I think so. For me, it's my favorite Trek movie, especially of the Next Generation. But I guess that's not hard. But just because I feel like everything could use a little improvement, I'm probably just going to go a 9.75. But one thing that I did really like that I don't know, we didn't talk about it this time. How did you guys feel about the music in this one, the score?
Again, 10 out of it's probably a 9.5. No notes. I think there's a couple TOS movies with better scores, but this one is up there. This is the last great Jerry Goldsmith one. I mean, he does Insurrection next, but I'll get to my thoughts on that next week.
Oh yeah, there weren't enough whales. That's right. But yeah, very very little that could have probably improved this, and any other changes might have just made it worse.
Oh, it's on me. I mean, it's very decent balance of stories, whether it's on the Enterprise or on Earth. Like seeing the Borg actually being somewhat dangerous, kind of almost getting to the point in Voyager where they're just not anymore. And I do like seeing Picard deal with a good obsession. There's a fair amount of jokes, and I always like seeing Cromwell on Star Trek. I'm not going to say it's the best movie because that's still Wrath of Khan for me. So I think just about a 9.5 for me.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think it's so much fun. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer here. I want to give it an 8 out of 10. And I just, I think it's good, goofy, fun. I don't think it does a lot to further the leftist agenda of Star Trek or anything like that. But it's a good popcorn thing. Watching all the Borg stuff is fantastic. I think Zephyrin Cochrane is kind of a goofy, weird guy with a lot of dark undertones. That's kind of entertaining. Yeah, 8 out of 10.
We do get the explanation on how their economy works a little bit here.
We do?
Well, just the there's no money, there's social betterment, everyone.
Oh, that
works
there's no money
together.
in the future.
Yeah.
I thought you meant for World War III people.
Oh
I
no,
was like, oh, they
not
seem very
that.
smart. Okay. I was like, I missed that. Okay.
I would say, like, similar to Dell, I think so far my favorite is the one with the whales. But as far as TNG movies, I think this one is my favorite. So I'm going to give it a 9. There's some definite things like with the Borg Queen's characterization that I think could use some tweaking. I think Picard as an action hero, I'm a little ambivalent about it. But I do think that they utilize the ensemble cast much better in this movie as opposed to Generations. Everybody has a part to play and does so very well. So 9.5.
Except for Troy. She doesn't really have that many
For
parts to
time.
play. Poor thing.
She gets tequila.
Yeah.
She drinks tequila and then she does the countdown because I guess they didn't have anyone else to count. But
Right. But she like pops in here and there. It's like with Generations, it was like barely a line for a lot of people.
I'm not seeing anything below 8 from even in the chat. So I think we all agree it's a good one.
So this, as you can see in the chart here, this is coming in second for our averages overall. Okay.
Womp womp.
For what? Which one? The motion
Almost
picture?
missed one.
Oh yeah, the motion picture got killed. Yeah, I feel like it's only going to be downhill from here. Are you
Oh
counting
my
the Chris
God.
Pine movies or no?
Yes, we'll be talking
yeah.
about the Chris Pine
okay.
movies.
Okay, well, there's hope that
Yeah,
there'll be some high,
it is
some more
all
high
downhill
scores.
from here. Though honestly, at least one of those is better than the next two things we have to slog through. But that's for next week. Any final thoughts on First Contact before we get out of here? Well, I'd also like to give everybody, we'll
No,
go
except for
around
that
and give, oh, we even that bumped it up even. How
Do
did
you see
an
James
8 bump?
James K said, "Don't forget Galaxy Quest."
Oh,
Oh yeah,
down.
that'd be high
That-
on my list.
It would be. I don't know if we're counting that as Star Trek canon though.
It's not. No, unfortunately. So I want to give everybody an opportunity to talk about maybe what you're working on your own channels. For me, I'm working right now on transitioning my channel from purely being Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I will be changing the name of the channel to Best of Trek / Dustin Wing very soon, and eventually it's just going to be my name because I want to do other movies and TV. I want to do some political stuff because, by God, I can't not say something right now. So that'll be changing here in the next couple of months. That's my big thing. Go ahead, Josh. What do you got going on?
Luckily, all your subscribers are here for it. I just decided today I was going to cover the new Doctor Who at least a little bit. So I put that video out, which is actually part of the reason why I didn't come up with a clever Trek name at the beginning of my channel. So I could do a few other things, but I'm also going to keep doing Trek stuff. Obviously, that's my main fun thing to talk about. And just keep looking forward to any breaking news or keep going along with my reviews.
Okay, I have been still going with that same project that I've had to watch every episode of Trek and summarize it in a YouTube short. I made my way through TOS, the animated series, TNG, and DS9, and as far as what I have posted, I am coming to the end of season 3, but I'm already about a quarter of the way, I think, through season 4 of Voyager.
I am something I'm super excited about is that I'm going to be doing some breakdowns of sci-fi movies and TV shows with the bent of microbiology. So basically it'll be like, how real is this? If you've ever seen that on YouTube, if you have not seen that on YouTube, like after this, go watch that. Go watch how real it, just type in how real is it? And it's like videos you cannot help but binge watch all of them. And basically I will be able to look at all these sci-fi shows and movies that talk about different kinds of infections or, you know, zombies or viruses or whatever. And I'll break them down about how real they are. And then I'll give them a rating at the end out of 10. So I'm super excited about that. I think it's going to be so fun. How long is it going to take me? I don't know. But I've had this idea for like 6 months. So it's going to be amazing when it's finished.
Nice. I can't wait.
Me neither.
That sounds amazing. I'm going to be doing some episodes on Batman Cape Crusader through the Conversations feed. Eris is going to be joining me for episode 5, and we're going to be having Catwoman Core for the rest of the episodes. That's going to be a good time. Yeah.
All right.
as Robbie said, I had a discussion with him about an episode of Cape Crusader that was really awesome. So when that's posted on his feed, check that out. I am still schlepping my way through a book called Dreadnought by Diane Carey, a Trek novel, and I'm still reviewing those on Shorts, and longer form content on the way. I'm not sure when it's going to be finished because I'm reimagining my script writing process. So there you have it.
Nice. It's good to
I
not
love that.
space
I
out.
admire that. I admire that. I read so many books and I want to talk about them, but then like I kind of just want to talk about them for like really quickly and then like go to the next book. So I don't have the patience to like sit and like I can do this for an episode, but I can't do it for a book. Like once I've read it, I'm like, oh, this was great. Okay, next book.
Yeah. Especially when it's like a book you don't like. It's hard to sort of pick it up again.
Oh yeah, I just don't. There's so many great books. Sometimes you got to be like sunk cost.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks all of you for coming and joining me and talking about this wonderful Star Trek movie. I'm not super looking forward to next week because it's like, oh hey, we've got 8 of these movies down and there's still like 5 of them to go. So, thank you and thank all of you for tuning in. And until we see you again, live